All right, everybody. Thank you for holding tight with us, and welcome to TIpa Online. I'm your host, Josh, here with Terry Lee, Kevin.
Hello.
And we have our special guest, Connie Hillenbrand. Hillenbrand? Hillenbrand. Okay. She's a psychic and a medium. She lives here in Salt Lake, I believe. One of the things I want to start off with is just for our listeners so they could kind of get a feel for who you are, what you're all about. Can you just give us a rundown of who you are and what you're all about?
Okay, I'm Connie Hillenbrand. I am originally from South Mississippi, and I grew up in a very small town. And when I was growing up, when I would see, hear, or feel things, I was basically told that it was my imagination or that my mind was playing tricks on me.
And that's a common story.
Yeah. And that it was bad, that I wasn't supposed to be doing this, which as a child, it's kind of hard to figure out how you're not supposed to do it when it just happens, As I got older, I just realized that it was best to not say anything to people most of the time.
So, earlier in the earlier show, we were talking about children and having experiences. Did your parents ever kind of look at you like you had just kind of blew their mind a little bit, thought that something that you said was more than, what a little kid.
Wild imagination, yeah.
Yeah, more than just a wild imagination.
Well, my parents never really said too much about that to me until I was an adult, and I had lived away from home, and I went back home, and one day my mother brought up something that was kind of interesting because I don't remember a lot of the things that happened when I was a child, but she reminded me of when my oldest brother had an automobile accident when he was 19. And she said she was going to come to me and tell me that he was going to die. I was 5 at the time. And she said that before she even said anything, that I looked at her and I said, Mom, Kay is not going to die. And as an adult, she was looking at me. She said, Connie, I don't understand how you know the things you know, where this is coming from. And at that point, all I could do was shrug my shoulders because
you didn't really know.
I really didn't know myself what was going on.
It's kind of hard to understand. There's a fine line between reality and imagination when you're a child.
Right.
Even from the child's perspective.
Right. And it's scary because you really think that the adults are seeing and hearing and feeling everything that you're seeing and hearing and feeling the same way.
Yeah.
And when you suddenly realize that nobody else is seeing, hearing, and feeling this but you, as you get a little older, you start questioning your own sanity,
So when did you, realize this or accept it as a gift, an ability?
Actually, 2 years ago.
Okay.
I had been through a lot of, there's been a lot of tragedy in my life, and I had been extremely depressed and anxious, and actually in treatment for depression and anxiety. And after a little over 2 years ago, I finally decided to let go of a lot of things, let go of and forgive myself for some things and forgive other people that had done things that had hurt me, and also to discontinue contact with people who are toxic to me and who interfered with my well-being.
So you think that kind of may have opened some doors?
That opened some doors. I became happier than I'd ever been. And then I was looking through one of the community classes brochures, and I found a class. It may sound strange to go to a class to do this, but I found a class called Sixth Sense taught by Laurel Lowe at Granite Peaks Learning Center. And it's talked about learning about your intuition and getting in touch with your intuition. She talked about psychometrics. I didn't even know what that was. And then doing your own readings. And I didn't know if I really wanted to do that, but I really did want to learn about my intuition. So I enrolled in the class, and I discovered what kind of abilities I had. Where all this fit in and what I could do with it to help other people.
So how much work would you say that you really put into honing your abilities and really focusing on what you're capable of?
It wasn't extremely difficult for me. It varies with each person.
Well, I would imagine that after you got involved in it, the ability started matching the label that they were giving it in your class. And it was probably more of an aha moment for you.
Yeah, it was.
You know, oh, that's what I've been doing all my whole life. Okay, it was called clairvoyance.
Right.
Or, you know, empathic or whatever. Yeah, so I can imagine that would probably have broadened your horizons and your vocabulary, knowing that there was actually a name for what you were doing.
Exactly, and I became extremely happy. I mean, knowing that this is something that's okay. It's not a bad thing, and that I can help people.
So it kind of closed some doors and opened some doors at the same time.
Right.
It kind of a full circle kind of deal is what I get from you.
Right. I, for the first time in my life, feel like I know who I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I have done a lot of different types of work in my life. I kept searching for. You know, who am I? What can I do? I want to help people, but I can't seem to find that thing.
That passion.
Passion.
Yeah, I get you.
And I finally found it, and I'm happier than I've ever been in my life. I'm no longer depressed. I'm no longer on any kind of medications for anxiety or depression. I no longer need that kind of help because I know who I am. I know what I can do.
And so just acknowledging that pretty much set you free from that restraint.
Right.
That's wonderful.
And that in doing that, it also helped to open my abilities up more.
So about your abilities, you know, is this something that just comes to you when you're not expecting it, or is it something that, you know, you can focus on and channel, you know, on command?
I tune in and I tune out. When I'm going to do a reading, I tune in. And when I'm done with the reading, I tune out. If I were to allow it to just basically control me, I could become delusional.
Oh, yeah. I would imagine so.
It could push me over the edge. I could become...
And I've seen it, and I've heard that same story, you know, numerous times.
Uh-huh.
And it does happen.
Yeah, you have to control it. And there is a spiritual law that spirits have to do what you tell them. They have to obey us. If we tell them to go away, they are supposed to go away. So therefore, and this is something else that helped me a lot, because I had a lot of really frightening experiences with some very negative spirits over the years, and I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know what to do, and in that situation it used to frighten me, and I'd spend all night awake waiting, scared to death this whatever it was going to come back. But now that I've learned how to deal with it, how to control them, how to keep them away from me, it's not as frightening. If something bothers me in the middle of the night, I just say, okay, I'm done, and I get up and I use either my spray or my sage, and we're done with it.
So, you know, in your bio, it lists several different abilities. Is there one that you're more keen to than others? Is there one certain area that you think you excel in more than the others?
All of them are pretty strong, but the strongest two are my clairaudience and my empathy. feeling.
So I understand empathy. You know, you kind of feel maybe what somebody felt as they were passing or what they felt in their life. Clairaudience. Can you kind of define that? Help me understand that a little more.
Clairaudience it's not really hearing a voice for me. It's more like a thought that goes through my head. You know, it's very similar to thinking, and I had to learn the difference between my thoughts and hearing spirit.
Now, one of our guests in our chat room is listed as a guest, but I know who it is. It's Dana, a longtime friend of ours. She said that it is a delicate balance, takes practice and respect for the abilities. Is that true?
Right.
Yeah.
You've got to practice. And
well, it's no different than any other profession or any other hobby or whatever. You need to practice diligently at your craft in order to master it and appreciate it and pay it the homage that it deserves.
Right. If you're going to play a piano, you've got to practice.
Yeah.
Every day.
Same concept.
If you're going to be an artist, you've got to practice. And everybody has different levels of ability with any type of ability. It doesn't matter whether it's playing the piano or being a psychic. Everybody has different levels. Some people have to work harder. Some people are concert pianists.
Yeah, or child prodigies.
Child prodigies.
And some people can practice all their life and only play chopsticks.
Right.
That would be me.
So.
Now, Dana also said that if you abuse the abilities, you could actually lose them.
Right.
That is true?
Right. If you don't use them for the higher good, basically. If you don't use them in a proper manner, you can lose them.
So if you fall into like greed or something like that, that'll just...
If you'll notice on my disclaimer, I won't give financial advice.
Oh, darn. I was going to get those lottery
numbers
too. Well, so much for that question.
Speaking of which, for those listeners that have not got the actual internet on, if they're listening via their iPhone or whatever, can you give us a quick shout out of the address of your website so that they can find you and see your web page and see how it's set up and find out how to get in touch with you?
Yes, it's www.spiritualcounsel.info.
Okay. We'll also post that link up on TIpa Online so that all of our people that come across our webpage can...
I actually have it posted in our chat room
yay!
Already. If you just click on her picture, it'll take you right over
Okay,
there.
it's right above the chat box.
That was easy.
For those people who are in the chat room.
If you're not in the chat room, you might want to go there.
So what kind of readings do you do? Do you have to be physically with someone? Can you read someone over the phone?
Yeah, I can do it on the phone, and I'm just as accurate on the phone as I am in person. I have read for people in Pennsylvania, Michigan, different parts of the country.
So you just have to really kind of hear their voice and...
Basically, I use spirit guides. We all have spirit guides, and when it's like a conference call.
I see.
So the client's spirit guide communicates with my spirit guide. My spirit guide gives me the information to give to the client.
I see.
And when it's mediumship, I get the information kind of the same way from the loved one that's passed.
Okay, so here's a question. I'm going to throw out a challenge to our listeners first. I'll give them the first opportunity. If somebody wants to call in on the show right now, would you be willing to just give them a little reading?
Sure.
Okay. If you want to contact us, you can contact us on Skype. Look up TIpa Online. Or shoot me a message on Facebook telling me you're downloading Skype. I'm going to give you about, I'll say...
2 seconds.
2 seconds. I'll give you 5 minutes. I'll give you till 9 o'clock for somebody to respond to me.
I'm calling right now, so hold on.
Now, if nobody responds, then I'm going to ask you to do a reading on me so we could still have a live reading done on the show. just so we could see how it is.
Okay.
Now, out of curiosity, I know that some people like to hold on to an object that belonged to somebody. Does that help you as well?
I don't use anything.
You don't do that?
I don't use that's psychometrics, and I don't have to use it. I basically don't use any tools at all.
So when you say spirit guide, I hear spirit. And when I think spirit, I think ghost. And when I think ghost, I'm going, okay, what is the best medium for them to talk to you? Are there pollutants like, situations where they're less clear because, there may be smoke in the air of some sort, or
some type
the
of
weather,
interference? Yeah,
the weather's bad, or
I've never found anything that interferes with it. I do most of my readings at Beans and Brew with music going and people talking all around me. And I haven't found a situation yet that interferes with it.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I've kind of heard too, is that when your spirit guide is in direct communication with you, there isn't pretty much a situation that would prevent them from conveying that message and you being open to receiving it.
Well, see, I would think, okay, let's say somebody was burning some sage. Ghost hunters use sage to cleanse houses all the time.
Right.
Why? I'm just trying to understand why that wouldn't work with a spirit guide as well.
That's a really good question, Kevin.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a different situation because these guides have been with us since birth.
So they weren't somebody that was just ripped out of their body and kind of stuck in this space.
These spirit guides
are like kind of divine.
Yeah, they're kind of like angels. So they are. They have been with us since birth, and they have guided us throughout our lives. We have one that is with us from birth, and then at different periods of our life for different purposes, you'll have other guides come in for that period of time and then leave when that purpose is filled.
Yeah.
So these are a type of angel, basically.
So they've basically chosen to be a guide.
Right. They are chosen to be our guides, and we made an agreement with them before we came here that they would be our guides.
Okay. Sorry, I had either my son wandering in here or the cat wandering in here. Some of the joys of broadcasting from home, Can't wait till we get that studio. Right now, I have at least 2 people that wish they could get a reading, but neither of them have Skype. Is there a way, and if not, that's okay, but is there a way that at one point or another we could have them contact you for a reading, and then we can have them on the show to kind of give us a update on how the reading went?
That would be great.
That would be okay?
Yeah, they can contact me.
Okay. I'll get you the 2 names and numbers for the individuals. Just so you know, you don't get a random call. Hey, give me a reading. You said you would. But one of them is really, really impressed with how strong of a connection you have, and she really, really wanted a reading, but unfortunately they don't have Skype. And Comcast is a bunch of turkeys because my phone line went down 2 days ago, and
I'm glad I didn't have a calling guest on my show.
Why do you think I called you earlier today and said, "Are you doing a show?"
Oh, now I see.
That's what I was going to do. But yeah, it looks like one of them already knows how to contact you. She's the one who helped set up tonight's show.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other one, message me your information on Facebook, Dana, and I'll make sure I get that to her tonight before she leaves, or vice versa, so you guys can get together. Then we'll want both of you on the show, like I said, as a follow-up to see how the readings went. And if you wouldn't mind, it would even be great to have you back with them
Sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So
Sure.
Dana's just going to have to learn how to download Skype.
Yeah. We'll send Josh right over to download that for you.
Yeah, she's kind of farther away than just a simple drive. Let's just say that. She used to be closer, but yeah. Okay. Let's see. Connie, have you ever heard of ITC water photography?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any opinion on it, or?
If this is what I'm thinking it is, it's where they've they've put the little labels on water, containers of water. Is this what she's referring to? This person's referring to?
I believe what she's referring to is, because I think I saw a post earlier that she posted on TIpa Online. I believe it had something to do with, they took a glass bowl and they filled it full of water, and then they set it on a plate, and they were taking photographs through the water or through the bowl.
Now this I'm not familiar with.
Okay, and I'd have to read in on it more before I misled you on what happened, but there is a link that... do you Facebook? Do you get on Facebook?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll make sure that Eva gets you over that link. It's
Okay.
really interesting reading.
Yeah,
so.
it sounds like it.
But yeah, I believe that's what she was asking about. I just don't want to mislead you on
Yeah,
how it works.
there are a lot of things that I don't know about.
Right.
You know, that I'm really interested in learning a lot of these things that are out there.
She's also into the paranormal investigation bit too.
Right.
And I've had the good fortune of actually going on an investigation with her. So, and she's awesome. We keyed in on a lot of the same dynamics from this location. And so I got to see her work firsthand. And trust me, she's really good. She's
Great.
Really good.
So now you got that ADD in me. It just kind of kicking off in left field. Are you busy this weekend?
Saturday, yes.
Are you?
I'm going to be at a psychic fair.
Oh, okay. What about Saturday night?
Saturday night, no, I'm not busy.
There you go.
Can you tell us about this psychic fair, where it's at? And
Okay, it's Soulworks Psychic and Holistic Fair. It's at Dancing Cranes Import at 673 East Simpson Avenue. It'll
in
be
Salt Lake City.
in Salt Lake. And it'll be from 11 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And I'm going to be there all day. There'll be other readers that do different types of readings. There will be massages. There will be oils and all kinds of different
Fun things
there. There's even a person there that's going to be giving out free hugs.
Right on.
That's worth it in itself. To
They're going to have the longest line in the whole place. It's free? Are you sure it's free? No, I'll take one.
Need a hug? That's where you go.
See, the scary part is there'll be two
I'm not
police
the one giving
officers
out-
standing right behind.
I'm not the one giving out the hugs, but there's a person there going to be giving out hugs. So
Yeah, like I was saying, there's going to be two police officers standing right behind the person giving the hugs.
Yeah.
Just saying. So, okay, well, the reason why I was asking is, once again, I have ADD, so my mind is everywhere.
I'll vouch for that.
We are doing an event at the Rio Grande station, and I was wondering if you would allow us to actually video you kind of just going through there and just giving us a reading.
okay,
That'd be
yeah,
okay?
I would love to do that.
That is
Awesome.
fantastic.
All right, well, we're all going to be there, and Eva's going to be there, so you'll know plenty of us. But, yeah, that would be really, really interesting. And we'll share that with our listeners, once again, on TIpa Online, tiparesearch.com. And we're actually going to be creating you a page as well on our website. So if people want to learn more about you, they can go there and they could hear the show, and they could see some of the videos that we put together showing how you work, and also doing the update with, you know, the readings you do for our guests. So I talk too much.
With that
I
said,
have so many questions. I'm like tight-lipped over here, but I have so many questions. Like, you know, as an investigator, you know, and being technical-minded, I've had experiences, and I do believe that we're all kind of sensitive to a point. But someone who's seen a little further past that I don't see, the questions of, how many types of spirits are there? Where are their energy coming from? Are they coming and going as they choose? Are they jumping from one place to another? Are they following people? Are they tied? Or, there's so many questions there, for psychics or, empaths or clairvoyants or, like how many different types of spirits do you think that you've kind of encountered in doing this in the last few years?
There are negative ones. There are malicious ones. There are mischievous ones. They are, but for the most part, they are just totally not a problem,
Just kind of everyday people.
Yeah, they're just everyday people for the most part.
So most of the spirits that you've kind of seen or kind of come in contact with have been human beings at one point. Right.
Now I have encountered the black smoky mists. I had one of those in my apartment. It likes one corner of my bedroom.
So I've counted 2 so far. Humans and now mist.
And the mist. I have made pictures of orbs in my apartment.
These are not your standard orbs. I can vouch for that.
Are they? Do you believe that? What are your beliefs on orbs? I mean, do you think that it's kind of leftover gooiness from a person?
Leftover. That description.
From a person like jumping from room to room, and it's just kind of leftover plasmic stuff.
My personal belief about it is that it is a spirit, but spirits can present themselves as they want to present themselves, and a spirit can present themselves in the form of an orb, or it can manifest in a full body. A spirit can present them at any age. They don't even have to present themselves at the age that they were at the time of their death. Yeah. They can present themselves at a younger age or an older age or whatever. They are very talented.
Multiformed.
Yeah, multiformed.
One of the things that was explained to me as far as how spirits present themselves, and correct me if this is wrong, but a lot of people tell me that spirits can present themselves the way they remember themselves. And I don't mean how they look, but if you think about how you look, you may only be thinking of a portion of your body. You may not be thinking of your legs in this image that you're creating of yourself. Is that true in the spirit world?
It's pretty much the way they will present themselves is how they think you will recognize them the easiest.
Okay.
If all it takes is their face for you to recognize them, then that's all you're going to.
The
and
guests
scare the heck out of
the guests in
the head pop up.
I have to say, the guest in the chat room says she wonders if it takes a spirit practice on how to manifest.
Yes. Yeah, I feel that it does. I feel that when a person crosses over, that there's a period of time when they're learning how to do these things. They're increasing in their energy.
Yeah, and that's that's a common theory amongst psychics that I've noticed, is they believe that there's a learning curve in the next life, just like there was in this one and the one previous.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not alone in that thought.
Yeah, I want to tell you something that was kind of funny. One night I was sitting in my living room, and my cat and I were sitting on the couch, and something went bam against my living room door, and I looked at the cat, and the cat was looking at the door, and I just looked at the cat and I said, "Well, I guess that one will learn how to get through the door sooner or later."
That's funny. That's a good one.
That's as good as
Maybe
the
that's
guru.
where those things are that you hear in investigations.
They're just walking
It's
into
the
things.
learning curve. I never thought about that, but you just opened the door
Well,
in my mind.
It has to make sense. I mean, you got to learn to go through a wall or before you can learn to manifest yourself.
Well, one of the questions I've always wondered about spirits, and it's kind of an odd one. We actually brought it up in a show a couple of weeks ago, which turned into a fiasco. But one of the things I was curious about is how do we look to spirits? I mean, because they don't have the material bodies,
Eyes and
they don't have the
ears
eyeballs,
and-
the brain, and everything. So how do we appear to spirits? Do we look like auras to them, or do they just see our energy, or is there any real answer to that?
I feel that they can see us
Just the way we are?
just the way we are. Now, when you're a psychic or a medium, we look like a light, a bright light to them.
Okay.
And they're drawn to psychic mediums.
Right.
It's kind of like I don't know, this kind of sounds maybe a little not so wonderful, but it's kind of like a light bulb in all the bugs. The spirits see that medium, and
Spirit
here
bugs.
we are.
Yeah, spirit bugs. That's a good.
That
Yeah, that's a good description.
would explain why I don't have a lot of experience.
You're more like a bug zapper.
No, because that still draws them to it. I'm just more like the light bulb that burned out. I'm just that dark corner where the light bulb just don't work no more. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had my experiences, but they're few and far between.
And I'll vouch for that too.
Yeah.
Versus his ghost repellent.
I could go into an active location where everybody is experiencing something. The minute I walk in there,
Nothing.
nothing happens.
Why do you have you ever picked up? Why do you think that is? Is it something that a door in his mind that may be closed that inhibits him from having those experiences,
I've actually had that explained to me.
or opposed to you, Connie? Kind of having those doors open in your mind.
I think that has something to do with it. Some people think that they're really open, that they're really open to the idea of seeing it. But if you're fearful or reluctant, if you're reluctant and concerned that something is going to be frightening, you tend to shut it off.
And see that ain't me because I charge at them.
Yeah, as far as open-minded and willingness to be there for the experience, you're not going to get any better than Josh.
No.
However, I swear to God, he wears a paranormal retardant every time he walks into a location. It just flattens out. There's nothing going on unless he's upstairs and it's happening in the basement or...
Can you stop using the word retardant? I'm sorry, but really? Well, no. The way it was explained to me, it was by a good friend of mine that I worked with at another company. And she had a really strong ability, but she kind of kept it behind doors. She kind of kept it to herself, but... She shared it with me, and she would know when things would happen before they happened, things like that. And she explained it to me that in a way it's a gift. It's my personality. It's my outlook on the way things are. It's not that I'm afraid. It's not that I'm skeptical. It's not that I'm, against the opportunity of seeing something. I'm so analytically minded.
That makes sense.
It's a matter of they know that it would take more than they could do to really convince me.
That completely makes
that it's a
sense to me.
spirit. No, I have seen one apparition. I have seen things move. I've seen my share of shadows and light anomalies. I have had my experiences. So I'm not saying that they all stay away from me and it's just like they scatter when they see Josh, but I just don't have the abundance of experiences that a lot of people around me do. Now,
Right.
I believe that they're experiencing them, but At the same time, I also believe a lot of people read too much into what they're experiencing.
Right. That's another thing too, is if we have fears, we can project those fears into seeing things that aren't there.
Right.
So therefore, not everything that you think is an apparition really is. I'm skeptical myself when I see something, because I have to go check it out and see if,
Is that really what I just saw?
Is that really what I just saw?
Yeah.
or am I just in one of those moods where I've watched too many scary movies?
And
If you talk yourself out of it, there's the answer to your question from the previous show, Kevin, was, when you're so close to the person that just passed away and you're grasping at straws, wanting that confirmation to know that there's actually someone or something still left of that person or animal or whatever it was you were attached to, you can not only talk yourself into disbelieving, you can also talk yourself into believing.
Right,
and,
right.
And see, that kind of falls into, now all I could go off is my own experiences, just like everybody in this room. I could be with a group of people, and they'll all be standing at one end of the hallway, staring at the other end, swearing up and down they see this tall, dark figure wearing a long jacket and things like that, and none of them would dare to move towards it. I would start going towards it. They'd all, you're making it mad. Oh, don't do that. Oh, don't do that. And I'll walk down there and not see anything, not experience anything, not have an indication that there was anything there. And
Right.
that really makes me question, can one person create a hysteria to where multiple people around them are all experiencing the same thing?
It's possible, but also with me, she and I could be in the same room and she could see and hear something that I wouldn't see and hear.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it's not there.
Right.
It just means that I'm not experiencing what she's experiencing.
Or maybe you weren't supposed to hear it.
Right, maybe.
I was going to say there was a nice show on TV that kind of explained that phenomenon. I'm not going to get into it because Ghost Wolf J does not like this guy, so I'm not going to go into it. But the theory is if it is targeted women and women are the only one that has experienced it, and a man can be standing 2 feet away from her and the sound is in between them, and the male is not going to hear him, the female is going to hear him. Your theory, Kevin, is that they're not meant to hear it.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean that it's not happening, because it was experienced by every female in the room, but yet the guy standing, a foot away from the noise did not hear it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So.
I have another question for you from the chat room from Lefty Utah, and I'm going to do a little mental spell check for her. She wants to know, does Connie have an opinion on why only certain people can see and feel spirits? I know we just kind of really covered some of that, but
I think some people are just more open to it. I think that's kind of the crux of it, is that I think it's harder for some people to open themselves to that.
Do you think it's fear that stops that, or if it's
there is something
knowledge base? Or?
Yeah, there's something in their personality or in that person that tends to want to block it, and keep them from experiencing it for some reason. I think there could be any number of reasons.
now with
for
that
it.
being said, is it possible that, we talked earlier how there's so many different kinds of spirits. They're kind of like people. You just have a broad range of different types.
Right.
Can they only like certain people?
Oh, yeah.
I'd prefer to talk to him because I could relate to him, but
Right.
this person, not so much.
Right. They're
Yeah.
So.
The spirits are they are basically people without bodies. So, and their personalities
are very
are
just
there.
like people's.
They're just like they were when they were here. So, sure, they can pick out people that they like and don't like.
Now, this is another goofy question I have for you because I'm full of them.
Full of something.
Now, obviously, when you live your life, you have to do certain things to maintain your life. You have to eat. You have to sleep. You have to breathe. You have to drink.
Right.
When you pass away and you become a spirit, none of those things are relevant anymore. Does that change your mentality in any way as a spirit? Because now you no longer have to shut down for the 8 hours. You no longer have to get substance to
keep you going, yeah.
Give you energy. Does that change the personality of the spirit?
No.
Okay.
We always have the same personality that we have here.
You know, doing the other show, you know, I've watched a lot of shows on psychics. One in particular that kind of sticks out in my mind is the Long Island psychic. She can walk into a place and just, it seems like
she can choose them buggers out of a crowd.
Yeah,
go,
she'll pick
all right,
somebody,
who was the female that
exactly.
passed?
She'll pick out somebody in a crowd and be like, hey, there is somebody wanting to talk to you. Has that ever happened to you?
Not yet.
Not yet. So you really have to kind of tune into
I
it.
have to tune in. I'm pretty much tuned out unless I'm doing a reading because I really don't want to do that.
I see.
I would imagine it gets overwhelming.
I wouldn't want those things to happen where I felt like I had to walk up to somebody I didn't know
and say, hey,
and
don't get in your car today.
Because the things that you see on TV are only the positive experiences that she has. Right. I wonder how many experiences she has where she gets a negative reaction that we don't know about. I don't want to put myself in a situation where I have to deal with a negative reaction from somebody. Now, I have with the empath part, I can feel not only people's emotions, but I can feel physical pain or ailments like that. For a while, it was really kind of annoying because I would be walking down the street and my chest would start burning, which is my indication that somebody has got a breathing problem.
So you're talking about living people.
Right, living people. I can pick up on living people.
Okay.
And I'm walking down the street, walking past all these houses, and my chest started burning, and I'm going, I'm not going door to door.
Yeah. Put up a sign in the street. Is your chest burning?
Are you having difficulty breathing?
Psychic on the corner.
She's trying to sell me something. I know it. Get out of here.
I know you're used to the Fuller Brush band, but it's just me, Psychic Connie.
and I'm not chasing cars, you know. I'm not going to chase cars to try to find out, you know. So my guides and I came to an agreement that unless they can give me somebody verifiable, somebody that I can verify that this is a problem, they're having a problem, or they're going to have a problem. Sometimes it's because they're going to have a problem. You know, I don't want to feel this, you know. And if I do start feeling something, and like I'm sitting on my lit couch and I start feeling something, and I can't immediately figure out who it is. It's somebody that I know, maybe, that I could call up and say, hey, you need to get to the doctor. Then I'll just say, okay, that's enough. Shut it down.
So how do you kind of tune into, let's say you're having those chest pains and there's, you know, kind of a room full of people. Can you kind of identify who you may be getting that feeling from?
Yeah, my guides will tell me.
Okay.
They'll give me a
So
name.
that kind of does happen to you, where something, you know, they're telling you something.
When she allows it.
Yeah, that
right.
you should be kind of conveying to someone.
Right. And I have told my guides that please don't give me the information unless you can tell me who it is.
Yeah.
Very clearly who it is, because I don't like to play guessing games that well.
Well, yeah, there's a time and a place for everything.
Right. So we can have control over this. I'm not saying that I don't get information that comes in, you know, that I need to do something about, but usually that information is something that is critical, that needs to be gotten to somebody, or something that I need to know, you know.
So, you know, I have a question. and I have abilities to a certain extent, but I'm more of like a kind of a prophetic kind of deal. Mm-hmm. I can read people and I can see, where they're going to be, what they're going to be doing. Some people are really strong, but I can't do that for myself. Are you the same way? Can you read yourself?
I don't even try to read myself, because if you try to do things for yourself, it's hard to determine if things are wishful thinking or if it's really something. I have a problem with that, and I have a lot of problems with self-doubt in that area, and I'm still trying to learn to trust my guides, so to speak.
So they've never come through and said, "Hey, you're great." Aunt Edna said, you need to go to the doctor.
I get promptings. I get things like that where I need to. I have a very strong feeling that I need to do something or something like that. Another thing too is they help me find my way to places.
That is funny that you mentioned that. That was going to be my next question.
You really are psychic. I thought you were kidding this whole time. Oh my God.
You just took the words out of my mouth, Connie.
See, Terry Lee don't even need to talk. Might as well just put the mic down. We're finished.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have trouble with maps sometimes and directions. Like coming over here today, It may take me a little longer to find it, and then I just have to keep saying, "Okay, which way do I turn? Tell me! I'm driving down the road. Tell me which way I turn."
So does that work in other aspects as well? Say, for instance, you've misplaced an item, or you can't remember a name of a place or something like that. Do you feel like you can call on your guides to be able to assist you in that information?
Oh yeah.
And the promptings are usually answered?
Yeah, unless I'm not supposed to know.
I was going to ask a question about that.
Sometimes there are some things we're not supposed to know.
Right.
And when that's the case, you're not going to get that information.
You think it's because they don't want to tell you or they're unable to tell you?
It's probably because we are not supposed to be told what to do all the time.
Right.
We have our free will to do things as we want to. So therefore, we're not told every move to make. One problem that this kind of leads into is some people think they have to get psychic readings every day or once a week. I won't do that, because you give a reading, I want a person, if it's predictions and information like that, I want them to wait 3 to 6 months before they come back, because they need to give time for that to take place, whatever you have said. Also, people get addicted to it because they want somebody to tell them what to do.
Good point.
And so therefore, I won't do, now mediumship I'll do whenever.
And that could be misconstrued as leading someone too.
Right. Right.
Well, I think that just pretty much, covers all the legal bases as far as you're concerned. And I think that would prevent the person receiving the reading, prevent them from, I don't know, I hate to be using the word gullible, but to be so gullible as to buy into everything that is said and try to alter their existence to fit into that mold that you've given them.
Right.
That borderlines on delusional.
Another thing, too, is when it comes to predictions that a psychic makes, you have people who complain because the psychic was wrong, it didn't happen. What happens with that is you give a prediction and that person takes a different route.
Or it doesn't happen exactly the way they pictured it.
Right. So therefore they think that the psychic was wrong. But that's not the case. The psychic was probably right. It's just that
you altered the course.
Yeah, the person altered the course. Well, not only
that, but the ultimate goal may have been achieved even though they took a different route.
Right.
We're fighting conformity You know, we don't exactly march to the same beat.
And there are so many different factors involved. Somebody in your life could take a different action and throw you completely off of where you were headed. You know, I mean, there are just so many things.
Yep, reality happens.
Dana in chat put it the best way. She said, our lives change in a breath. Mm-hmm. So our path is kind of constantly being altered by everything that takes place around us.
Environmental factors.
I've been writing down some questions.
Now let's
see. Let the other ones answer.
Now let's see. This show is how long? 3 hours long?
Well, actually, no. I'm going to have to ask the questions quick. The first one, the first one is there things that we are not supposed to know about the spirit world?
Yeah.
There is. So, as a paranormal investigator, we may be trying to dig into things that we're just simply not supposed to know.
You just won't find out.
We just won't find it.
And, you know, if you're not supposed to know, you just won't ever find out.
Okay.
Until you're in the spirit world.
I wonder if a spirit did give you some information you weren't supposed to have, if they get like in trouble for that.
R.I.P.D.
Yeah, R.I.P.D. Come knocking on the door.
And I often make, you know, I know when it sounds funny, but I've often made this statement during an investigation when spirit leaves and comes back multiple times in the context of a conversation. And I'll often say, oh, they're off asking their superiors if they can answer that question.
Yeah,
how do you know that that's not the case?
Do they make a phone
really
call?
Don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So even though it said jokingly, you know, how do we know for sure?
Right. I don't think there's any way to really know for sure.
All right.
You know?
The next question I had for you, is there some warnings that are not supposed to be given from a spirit because you're just meant to pass away or you're meant to deal with this tragedy?
Yeah, exactly. We have a life plan, a life path, and we are meant to follow that life path. So therefore, if there are certain things that are in that plan, then we won't be warned. And it'll happen. Because there are reasons for everything that happens.
Right. And the last question I had was, can spirit guides be pranksters?
That's a good question.
I don't think they would be pranksters, but they do have a sense of humor.
Okay.
You know, they do have a sense of humor.
Sometimes they can keep it guessing a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, too, that if they were ever given what we consider a spirit or a physical body, they're the same in the hereafter as they were when they were here. Their personality is the same. If they were a jokester here, they're going to be a jokester there.
And then they have personalities, too. Angels have personalities. I mean... So
do you think spirit guides were people at one point, or do you think they are
I don't believe that they ever incarnated. I don't believe that they ever had bodies. Because they, or some of them didn't. I've got to kind of qualify that because some of them have never had bodies, but there are some who have been on Earth that then made an agreement to be a specific person's guide.
Yeah.
So there's like a chain of command in the spirit world.
There's a whole organization, you might say, as to
and
who
I
does what.
And there's order in everything,
right?
Whether
Who's
it be the hereafter, whether it be here, whether it be
nobody is superior to anybody else, but there is an organization.
They all have their own different qualities.
They have their own responsibilities and gifts and
strengths.
Well, just like you were saying,
what they do.
Yeah, people, each one of us have our own strengths and weaknesses. I'm sure they do as well. Now, I know that we're running a little bit late, so I don't know if we can keep it going for a few minutes longer or...
Not a problem for me. I have nothing.
Okay, well, I asked my question, so...
We have no life. Stick a fork in us, we're done.
I'm a night owl. I'm not an early bird, okay?
I wish I could be right there with you, but unfortunately my job does not allow that.
So, I just have a question about your readings. When you read someone, I mean... Like, what kind of information do you give to someone? Is it something like, your Uncle Lou says hi from the other side, or...
Whatever comes into my head.
Call your divorce attorney.
Yeah,
You're in trouble.
your wife is cheating on you.
Yeah, if we're going to have that conversation, I'm leaving the room.
That's a path that you're meant to take. Because you deserve everything you're going to get.
So, having had a reading from you, I do know that you have a tendency to get situational as opposed to specific, such as, like Kevin alluded to, your Uncle Lou.
Yeah.
Or a date, or, something like that. I notice you're not specific in the detail. However, the situational, you were bang on. Is that a common theme with your reading, or are you able to get names, dates, places?
It varies with me. It's with each reading, it's different. With each person, it's different. Sometimes I get everything in a reading will be totally symbolic. There won't be anything literal. It'll all be symbolic. Other things will be literal. Sometimes I'll get have readings that are a combination of prediction, mediumship, and spiritual counseling. Sometimes it'll be nothing but spiritual counseling. I don't usually ask the client ahead of time what they are wanting, whether it's mediumship or if they want.
You just let it kind of flow freely.
I just let whatever come, because I figure whatever I am giving them is what they need at the time, whether they know it or not.
That's a good answer.
That's a fair statement.
Yeah, that's a good
Truthfully.
answer.
All right. Well, I'm not going to have you do that reading on me tonight.
You're scared now, huh?
I think I kind of blew that out of the water. What I was going to say is maybe when we do Saturday night, we'll have Eva verify that you're still able to make it. Maybe we can film you doing a reading on me there.
Okay.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, that would tie in really good. Let's see, if we can maybe have her key into something that you might acknowledge that's going to happen to you there at the location. Something that you may be able to communicate with or visually see.
I'm open to anything. So
Sounds like a plan.
As long as it's not, I'm going to pass away that night. I don't want to know.
You're going out on the midnight train, Josh.
That is totally against my rules.
Okay.
I don't predict death.
Good. We'll get
At
along
all.
great.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I think that may be one of those things that you're not supposed to know.
Right. That's something you're not supposed to know, so therefore I would never say anything I
That and
probably wouldn't
lottery
be told.
numbers are the only two things that I don't know.
And we were going to go over the border for the lottery tickets.
It makes me think of one of those movies where you go into that old creepy tent. There's that lady there with the crystal ball. What's my future hold? You're gonna die.
She's right about that too,
She just don't state when.
Eventually, you're going to pass sometime.
None of us is getting off this rock alive.
Right. Well, we definitely want to have you back on the air. Eva already knows how to get a hold of you, and I'll get Dana's information to you. She was supposed to send it to me on Facebook, but I haven't received it yet. So, Dana, get me your information.
She doesn't want to leave the chat room or the show.
Yeah, she's...
Yay, Dana.
She's enjoying it. I'm seeing a lot of LOLs in here. And you safe, Josh. There's that one. But we definitely want to have you back on the show.
Great.
I'd like to get Eva here that night as well.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
And Dana will get her to Skype in, and we can just kind of do a follow-up on the readings and what they both walked away from it. One of the main reasons we put this broadcast station together is all about learning. You mentioned earlier there's a lot of things that you don't know, but you'd love to learn. Well, we're all in the same boat. That's why we reach across the globe to talk to people all over the place to see what they've learned through their experiences, investigations, readings, things like that. And we could bring it all to one spot so everybody can learn together instead of hoarding all the information to themselves.
Certainly.
And so I want to thank you for taking the time to come here tonight.
Yeah, you've been a great guest,
Share your
Connie.
experiences and
Well, I've
your
enjoyed
abilities. Thank you.
I really have
We
enjoyed
were
it.
trying to keep you comfortable. So.
I get a bad case of stage fright, but I didn't get it tonight. So
Good. This is what we like to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
So now, Saturday night, hopefully we'll get some footage that we'll be able to share with our listeners on TIpa Online,
Yay.
on our Facebook, Twitter, and on our website, tiparesearch.com. Myself, Terry Lee, Kevin, you'll be there as well. So maybe we'll kind of watch you guys walk around in the dark and have somebody hide around the corner and try to scare you so we can get some of that
And
shot.
if we hear that loud bang, you know what that is now.
Yeah.
It's the learning curve.
I haven't figured out that doorknob.
See, I knew if we come together, you know,
We find the explanation for that.
we are slowly finding out.
That's what I'm talking about. It's all about learning.
I will never be on an investigation and hear a bang and not think
I
about
know.
this right
And
now.
thought
view
the
it
same
that
thing
way.
when she first told me that story. Awesome.
Okay. Now, tomorrow night we have Howling After Dark with Ghost Wolf Jay coming on the show. I'm not really sure what his topic is for tomorrow night yet, but he'll be here. And then Thursday night we're going to have a gentleman named Chris, I believe it's Johansson. He's actually also a medium and a psychic, and he's also a paranormal investigator. He's based out of New York City. He's going to be Skyping in. He does TV shows. He does a lot of readings for people, call-ins and also sit-downs. He's constantly posting comments from the people that he did the readings for. It's just phenomenal, some of the input he gets from these people. They're always thankful.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show.
Absolutely. So tune in for that, and then next week the show will be rolling like usual. Right, Kevin?
That's right.
Zero him out, even though I'm not going to be there Thursday.
And,
But yeah.
I'm also sitting in Thursday, correct?
Right. I'll be here long enough to start the show, but unfortunately my work calls, so I get to go to jail.
Duty calls.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to jail because I did something bad. I'm going to jail because I got to do some work in it. That's what I'm. That's my
your
story.
story, and you're sticking to it.
Absolutely.
I think it was
Take
that
your-
sage you smoked.
You'll see me Friday. I guarantee it. I hope.
Take some of your gear just in case there's a couple of empty cell blocks.
They make me empty. They make me put my phone in a locker. I have to unload everything I carry on me. They have to check my tools to make sure I'm not packing anything in my tools. It's high security. It's not just a local jail. It's a prison. So they don't screw around. But anyway, yeah. So Kevin, you'll be sitting in. Thank you for doing that, by the way.
Yeah, no problem.
And then this weekend it's going to be exciting. Anybody who's in the Salt Lake area who's listening in, I think there's a few spots left. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. There's a few spots left.
And where do they go
Very
to?
few. You can go to TIpa Online and find the link. It's an event. You'll see it on there. Or you can go to Paranormal Chaos Investigations, and there is also a link there.
Okay. And just let us know ahead of time. Don't show up at the door. Otherwise, we'll just give you the boot. Because we'll have security there.
Yep.
I'm pointing at Kevin.
Well-
Yep, you got security. But aside from that, once again, just one last time, how can people reach you?
you can get me by going to my website. You can get my phone number as well as my email address. My phone number is 801-953-1974. My email address is cghillenbrand@spiritualcouncil.info.
And that's also your URL is spiritualinfo.com.
Right.
Or .info, I'm sorry. Okay.
I had to be different.
Yeah, different is good. We're all
Different is good.
We're all a little bit different.
Yes, we are.
I think we have to be in this field, but yeah, I better be quiet now, so. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Once again, we appreciate your support. The more you guys help us out and continue to support us, the harder we push to improve for you guys. So thank you. I can't say that enough. And we will be talking to you Thursday night. So you all have a good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.